And welcome everyone to another Cardinals Nest. This is the show where we talk St. Mary's University athletics. We are coming to you from the Jerry and Pat Pappenfuss Multimedia Lab in Aquinas Hall on the campus of St. Mary's University. I'm Dean Beckman, the faculty athletics representative, and my co-host, as always, is Donny Nadeau, our sports information director. And our guest a little bit later on the show is local Winona native Izzy Goettelman. Izzy is on our women's basketball team, and later in the show when we get to talk women's basketball, Donnie will bring Izzy on. So it'll be great to meet our sophomore guard.
And we told her that we didn't have any questions lined up, but I think we probably do. And so we're going to grill her a little bit on being a local Winonan and on the St. Mary's women's basketball team.
Yeah, you've always got something up your sleeve. I know that. So, but before we bring Izzy on, we'll kind of recap this past week in St. Mary's athletics. And the men's hockey team right now, Donnie, they continue to sort of play at that even 500 level. Right now their record is 8-1 overall, 4-4-0 in the conference. So they're kind of, as you said last week, they remain right where they want to be kind of heading into the stretch run of the season.
Yeah, and I think that if you talk to Coach Egan at all, he would say that last weekend he really would like to be at least maybe 6-4.
Sure.
It was an odd weekend for them. They break out of their offensive doldrums and score 8 goals on Friday night, and then turn around on Saturday and manage just 2 and give up 5 in the third period and losing the second game 5-2. And I see our production manager is kind of cringing a little bit there as we talk men's hockey, because I think that was a game that they would like to have back, and that I thought they played well enough to win. It's just that in that third period, they just kind of St. Olaf took advantage of some mistakes that the Cardinals created and came away with a split. I know that Coach Egan was happy with Friday night. I mean, 8-2 is making a statement, and congratulations to Brady Lindauer. Brady had 2 goals and 2 assists. First two-goal game of his career, and first 4-point goal of his, game of his career. So a great individual performance, but to get 7 goals from other players is really important too, and it's good to see them spreading the wealth as they move forward. They're still in just fine. I think they're in fine position at 4-4 at 500, but I think that moving forward they're gonna need to steal a sweep in there somewhere just to give themselves a little bit of breathing room, and as they start thinking about playoffs.
Yep, and you talked about Brady Lindauer. Both he and Colin Tushy took part in our recent Family Feud event here on campus. I was on the faculty staff team. They were on the student team, and I will say I went head-to-head in the matchup with Brady, and I came out ahead in that one. However, the students came out ahead in the overall Family Feud matchup.
That doesn't surprise me at all.
So yeah, I blamed Matt Klosky because he was sort of the head of the faculty staff team. So I said, I want a new family next time.
Always blame somebody.
So Brady is multi-talented, as is Colin. Not only great hockey players, but pretty good at Family Feud, too.
There you go. There you go.
Switch your gears now and talk women's hockey. And our women's hockey team has been on a roll. They had a tie against St. Olaf, 2-2 on Friday, and then came out and lost a really good, tough one on Saturday, 2-1. But that was their first loss in a while.
Yeah, and we talk about, the offense coming to life for the men. We're still waiting for the women's team to return to the way they were playing against Lawrence before the break when they won 3-0 and 8-0. But they came away with a 2-2 tie on Friday night. They did win the shootout to get the extra conference point, which is very important as we start talking about points and positioning for playoffs. So I still don't have a problem with where the women are at right now, because they've got a lot of conference games ahead of them against teams that are right bunched with them in the conference standings. So I'm feeling pretty good about where they're at, but I really do need to see them get that offense going again. To only score 3 goals in 2 games against an Olaf team, which is a very good team. They came in at 500 on the season in terms of conference play, so a very good team, but I'd like to see them get a little bit more than 3 goals, and I'm sure that Celeste Rumstead and Jordan Keeley would like to see a little more offensive support from the Cardinals as they move forward.
Right. I mean, as you said, they have 2 terrific goaltenders, but at some point they can only do so much. You can only hold them off defensively for so long. And by scoring a few more goals, you're going to take pressure off of your team, put the pressure on the other team. And so, yeah, I think you're right. That's going to be the key. You know, as you look at their team makeup, Donnie, who are, you know, some of those forwards that can maybe step up there? Well, it's interesting,
you know, Dean, it's interesting because they have really spread things out all season long. They've had goal scoring from so many people. You just look at the weekend, they only had 3 goals, but from 3 different people. Cass Kingston and Jordy Wyant scored on Friday night, and then Ali Erlob had the goal on Saturday. So they are spreading it out, which is a good thing. And but they just need to do more of it. So I really like the play of Jordy Wyant, freshman defenseman, has really done a very nice job and is playing extremely well. And you know, they just need to continue to move forward. And that, you know, you take the 2-1 loss. Nobody likes to win. Nobody likes to lose, but learn from it. Move forward for their games this weekend against St. Kate's and keep battling. It's a, you know, as we've talked every time we're on this show. The MIAC is a crazy, difficult road, and you just need to keep battling and moving forward, and that's what they've got to do. And hopefully this weekend against St. Kate's they can put a couple wins together, and boom, they're right back in the mix of the playoff race.
Now, good news for Izzy Goettelman, who is our guest later on the Cardinals Nest here. Last week we had Raheem Anthony from the men's basketball team as our guest, and since then the men's team has gone on a 3-game winning streak. Now, that's to add to their program record winning streak that they're currently on. But the point is, since he's been on, they've won 3 straight games. They beat Bethel last Wednesday, in which that was a game they got off to a slow start, but came back strong, won 77-65. Had one of those heart attack games on Saturday at St. Scholastica, won that one 58-57, hung on by a thread there, and then last night on Monday night, defeated Augsburg 91-57. So that's one they could kind of coast through a little bit. So
yeah, it was a crazy week for them, and like you said, I mean, I actually talked to Coach Fano this morning about it too. You look at that Bethel game. And right out of the chute, they're down 7-0. And the difference with the men's team is they've got so many good 3-point shooters that in the blink of an eye, they can knock down 3 threes and it's 9-7.
Right.
And I think that the thing that they do very, very well is they never panic. And they just you know, stay the course. Basketball is such a game of runs that you know, they stay patient. They know Raheem's going to do what Raheem does, and you know, I think Monday night's game against Augsburg is a really good example of how potent this offense is. You've got Jabari Sawyer had 22 points, and then Raheem and Owen Ziegler both had 21. So of those 3 players, they beat Augsburg. Just those 3 players was the 64 points that they had. They beat Augsburg's 57. So it's such a potent offense that you try and shut down Raheem, and they've got it from the outside. You shut down the outside, and you've got Raheem just tearing it up inside. So they're tough to beat right now, and you know, having won 8 games in a row, they've got 2 big games this week against McAllister and Concordia, and you know, I see this run continuing. It's the key is you look at the Scholastic game, and I don't know for a fact, but I have to imagine they probably looked past them a little bit, thinking, oh, this is a team that we should just walk through, kind of like they did with Augsburg. But you can't walk through anybody in this conference, and you got to be ready for every game. They did just enough to get by and get the victory. But yeah, that's a heart attack game for sure, because that's the kind of game you really can't afford to lose.
Right.
As you're looking at, you know, heck, as you're looking at not only playoff positioning, but you know, regular season conference championships, you've got to take care of business and continue to stay focused and get the job done.
Right, and I know there's online chitter chatter about top 25 national ranking perhaps. Really, that's all kind of beside the point. I've always said rankings never matter until the very end of the season.
That's right. You know, and I talked to, you know, when I was talking to Coach Fano, you know, he said if you look at their season, the only game that you could actually say, okay, we got beat, was the Augustana game. He said that the other 4 games that they played prior to, or other 5 games they played prior to that, but their streak were games that they beat themselves. So they easily could be 14-1 right now had they played the way they are now, up to their potential in those first games. And I think that's the exciting thing about about this week is you've got McAllister on Wednesday and Concordia on Saturday. Both teams they've already played this year, and both teams have beat them early in the season. So it'll be interesting to see how these games pan out this week.
Yeah. One last thing on the men's basketball team. We had talked in here about how tough they are with Raheem and Owen Ziegler and Brayton Beisman when those guys are hitting. Now you add Jabari Sawyer as a real offensive threat.
Yeah, it is.
Tough.
It's amazing when you talk about it. You know, I mean, Jabari had a great game. 22 points is a career high for him. And you look at, you know, Owen Ziegler is right now he's number 2 in the country in 3-point field goal percentage, and he's number 4 in the country in 3-pointers per game. So you've got, I mean, you're talking about the best of the best in the country. And, you know, how do you shut that down?
Right.
And like I said, when you try to shut him down, now what are you going to do with Raheem? Because Raheem's going to do it inside or out. So it's, I kind of like being on the St. Mary's side and not having to try to figure out how to stop him right now.
Exactly. Well, not many teams have figured out how to stop Izzy Goettelman this year either. So we'll get to Izzy in just a minute here. But, Donnie, we've got some events coming up this week and this weekend, including the kickoff of the indoor track and field.
Yeah,
team.
let the craziness begin, I guess, as we add indoor track and field to the mix. They're at the UW Lacrosse Invitational this weekend. And as I alluded to, both basketball teams have McAllister on Wednesday. It'll be the first games of the second round of conference play, and then both teams will play at home on Saturday against Concordia, with the men tipping off at 1 and then the women at 3 o'clock. Men's hockey's this is their bye week this week, so they don't play this week. And you've got women's hockey with St. Kate's home on Friday and then on the road on Saturday. So another busy weekend. It's going to be exciting to have both basketball teams at home on Saturday. We always like having those doubleheaders. So fans, get out and cheer on those Cardinals. A lot of home games this week.
Yeah, it's good to know about that bye week for men's hockey. I can give our producer, A.J. Ruskowski, just a little bit more work to do, as if he doesn't have enough. So now we welcome into the Cardinals Nest Izzy Goettelman, a sophomore on our women's basketball team. And Izzy, thanks for taking the time to join us and talk about the women's basketball program this year. But one of the reasons we wanted to have you on is not only are you second on the team in scoring, of course, and we've had Brooklyn Paulson on in the show before. She's the leading scorer, but you're also a local Winona native, right? So maybe tell us a little bit more about yourself and you know, how you got started out in basketball and then how you ended up coming to St. Mary's.
So obviously, I've lived here my whole life, and I started basketball when I was like in 3rd grade, but honestly, I planned on playing volleyball for my whole life until about my junior year of high school, which is kind of the prime recruitment era. So yeah, I kind of had a mind switch then, and then just kind of grew from there in my love and passion. So yeah.
Talk a little bit about Coach Tim Gleason, right? So you played for Winona Senior High School, and I'm friends with Tim. And,
so you better be nice.
You got to be nice. But we know Tim's a fan, and we know Tim's going to watch this. So tell us what you learned from Tim, not only maybe about basketball, but just sort of life and sports in general.
Yeah, so Glease really just kind of, we didn't have the most like successful, I guess, years, but just like playing hard, drilling like the drive and the passion into the game was something he really drilled inside of me. And then like more of the mental side of the game, he was impacting me in a positive way, because that was hard for me for a while too, just seeing struggles or anything like that. That was hard for me to deal with. And then, yeah, so then COVID happened, and he was very supportive for us, like seniors that were like not getting the experience that we wanted our senior year, or just getting any kind of normalcy, I guess, in that year. So yeah, no, he definitely impacted me positively.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about the decision to stay in town, because I know I've talked to many athletes from the Winona area who always just want to get out of here. They don't want to go to St. Mary's because it's too close. They want to get out. What was the rationale for you to stay home?
I really, if you would have asked me, like, even my freshman year of high school, I would have said, no, I'm getting out. Like, I wanted to get out. But, I don't know, my junior year, again, I kind of just, like, I saw the school. Like, I've obviously been here a few times just from tournaments or anything. But, yeah, no, I wanted to just stay in town. I wanted to stay close after, like, just lots of thoughts and it was just, it felt like home when I came here. So.
Well, and I think what's exciting is obviously family members and friends who want to come out and to see you. It's easy for them to do that. But also we've seen Coach Tim, bring up the Winona Senior High team several times to come and watch you play. Do you get back there to help them out a little bit? What's that relationship like?
Yeah, no, the support definitely goes both ways. I go to their games. I've even been to a few practices, things like that. And then, when they come to my games, it's super nice to see, and it's just great.
Yeah, and you're an elementary education major here at St. Mary's, so tell us why elementary education and what maybe future plans are with that, if you know. You're just a sophomore, so it's okay if you don't.
Yeah, I've always looked into teaching. Like, it's just, I've kind of like been inspired by some teachers I've had, just like their hard work and everything. But I don't really know where I want to go, like exactly. I'll probably say I don't want to stay in Minnesota, but again, I might. I don't know.
Too far off to
right,
worry about
I don't know right now, but yeah.
But I like, Donny, what she said, teachers and hard work.
That's
I
right.
appreciate it.
That's right, absolutely. Izzy, basketball-wise, as Dean has mentioned, you're a sophomore. What was the biggest adjustment coming from high school to play here at St. Mary's? I know last year you had a phenomenal season. You were on the MICL rookie team. Talk a little bit about the adjustment you had to make from high school to college.
I feel like a lot of it was physically. Like, it's just a much more physical game, fast-paced. I mean, more mentally. Like, everything is just. I mean, I don't even know what to put in words, but it's a lot different. I mean, I was expecting it to be different, but way more different than I could have expected. Like, I couldn't even. Like, you think you're prepared, but you're not, kind of thing. So until you like step foot on the court, you're like, okay, so this is how it is.
And you were one of those rare freshmen that got a lot of playing time right away and was put into the starting lineup fairly early. And so did you feel maybe, I don't know, any pressure with that, or how did you handle that pressure that just sort of naturally comes with that?
Yeah, I felt pressure at first, but I kind of realized I just need to take the opportunity. I worked for it, so I was like, well, I guess I'll just go for it at this point. So
now let's take it one step farther. Okay, you had a year last year where you saw tons of playing time. Now this year, I think the expectations are probably a little bit higher on you. How big of an adjustment was freshman year to sophomore year? Because I think that now it's more the leadership part of it comes into play as well, not just what you can do on the court.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like it's been more of like a mental kind of side of a game this year, just realizing teams like know how to play me better and know where my strengths are and all those type of things. But becoming more of a leader on the court is definitely still something I want to work on, just being able to communicate with my teammates better and all these different things. And especially with like Brooklyn and Ashley leaving next year, like our team's still young, so being able to be a leader for the team next year is important too.
I have to admit, it feels like you've been here more than a year. Because, it just, because of last year having so much playing time, it's like it feels like experience-wise you're a junior. I mean, at least it's because you've played so much, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
In a good way.
You know, the other thing I've always admired about your game, I mean, you're averaging double figures this year as a sophomore, 11 points a game. But what I admire maybe the most is just your hustle and your activity on the court. I'm sure one of your strengths is your speed, right? And so I know Coach Foley wants to utilize that, but you have to be well conditioned. As I was doing the public address announcing recently, I was watching you and I'm like, she never seems to be tired. And she's running all over all the time. What do you do in the off season, in season, to work on that conditioning? Because you do have to utilize your speed, right? You're not the tallest player on the court, so speed has to be part of your game.
Yeah, I've kind of learned that throughout the years. Like, obviously I'm not the biggest or the strongest or anything like that, so just kind of using my strengths in other ways. But like in the off season, I do a lot of workouts, lifting, shooting, obviously. I do run a little bit here and there just to stay in shape, but I don't know, I've kind of just been, I don't know, like I was kind of born with speed, if that makes sense. I don't know how to say that, but yeah, I don't know. It's just been, it's been a
Talk a little bit about, you mentioned Ashley and Brooklyn. Talk a little bit about your seniors and what they bring to this team. And as you said, when they're gone next year, it's going to probably, the torch is going to be passed to you and the underclassmen. But talk a little bit about their impact on this team.
Their leadership is huge. Their communication's huge. I mean, obviously Brooklyn is Brooklyn. She's, I mean, amazing. I don't know. And then Ashley this year has just, her game's gotten so much better, and she's a great three-point shooter, very confident, and those are just two players like make our team so much better. So I feel like having them on the court is just way more beneficial for us. And yeah.
You know, I know this season hasn't gone exactly as you've wanted it to. 4-10 on the year, 3-8 in conference play. It seems like you're in all of the games. Slow starts have been one of the problems this year, but certainly there has been a lot of growth in some areas as well. Where have you seen some of the particular strengths or growth from the start of the season now to where you're at here? We're not at the end by any means,
Right.
but maybe over halfway through here.
Yeah, no, the slow starts are definitely been
frustrating.
frustrating trend lately. Yes, but towards the beginning of the year, we were giving up like 70, almost 80 points a game, where our defense has really picked up recently. So we're only allowing like between 50 and 60 points, which is great. I mean, if we could just get our offense more consistent and flowing quicker, we'd definitely just be on the other side of these games.
You know, I've said that many times this year with you guys, in that it's that slow start where you're constantly having to play catch up. That gets draining. That gets physically and emotionally draining. And by the time you get to that fourth quarter, when you're really clicking on all cylinders, you still have to catch up, and that's got to be difficult. And you look at Monday's game against Augsburg, really was a perfect example. You know, you didn't score until there was a minute 20 left in the first quarter, but you're still only down by 4. And you know, it's like, okay, we're right there. We just can't quite get over that hump.
Yeah, no, it's definitely just not been a great trend recently, but as soon as we can figure that out, I feel like we'll be firing on all cylinders.
Well, and you talked about consistency and all of that. I think if there was ever a coach that could figure that out, they'd bottle it and market it and become a billionaire, right?
Well, you know,
Yeah.
and I actually mentioned this to Coach Fano today when we were talking too. It's, you know, not being a basketball mind, but the game is so much ebb and flow. There's so much, I mean, there's so many highs and lows. It can be really difficult to kind of stay with that, because, you know, you first quarter, you score 5 points, that's a low, but then you start picking things up, and then you're at a high, and then you're at a low. I mean, how do you, as a player, how do you keep that at an even keel? Because you're going to have runs, and you're going to have streaks, and they're going to be both positive and negative. How do you keep that from kind of working into your mind?
Yeah, so I think just based off an example from yesterday, like the first quarter, we were all like, okay, like not trying to force a shot sometimes, but we were like, okay, like we haven't scored yet, like we need to find something, just make something work. But yeah, just trusting our game, trusting our concepts, and then just recognizing we were taking good shots, they weren't falling yet. So once we saw like 1 or 2 go in, okay, let's go, like let's pick it up, let's do this now. And just having that mindset, I think, is huge, and just continuing to find that.
Basketball really is contagious, isn't it? Once one player hits and gets going, it can snowball quickly and hopefully in your favor, right? We'll each ask a couple of more questions. One that I'll ask is, if I promise you, Izzy, it won't affect your playing time.
Okay.
Do you have any fun Coach Foley, Coach Scar stories for us that you can share? Maybe something from the road, the bus, a locker room comment, anything fun at all?
So we had to drive down to Tennessee because of the airplane.
Oh, I didn't hear about this.
Oh, okay.
Oh, my gosh.
When we went, we had a tournament in Tennessee over a break, and Southwest canceled our flights when that whole debacle was going on.
Sure.
So we had to take a bus down there, which was, I mean, not ideal, but it was
It
was
worked,
okay.
yeah.
We got there. It was fine. But Coach Scar actually brought a TV on the bus, and he was playing Madden. And him and Foley were playing Madden down there and on the way back, and I thought that was so funny because he brought the whole TV and just hooked it up on the bus.
Yeah.
You know, we
So
talk
who
about
won?
highs and lows. We talk about highs and lows in a season. I mean, that had to be one in itself, because you're all fired up. You get to fly to Tennessee, and then, oh, by the way, we got to take a bus because because the flight was canceled.
Well, and I'm thinking, Donnie, they're lucky they were able to line up a bus because that's over the holiday period.
It was
I
literally
mean,
the day before, too. So we really lucked
pretty
on that.
fortunate, actually. Yeah.
Talk a little bit. And we had Coach Foley on, and that was before the trip. Talk a little bit about the trip itself. The games, played two teams you'd never faced before. We had never faced before. How fun or how important was that trip, just from a standpoint of team bonding, team unity?
Yeah, it was great. I mean, especially with the bus ride, we also just got to spend more time together. So yeah, those two teams we've never played before, definitely they were difficult teams, but we were able to pull out one win, and the other one was close. But we were able to spend time downtown and just sightseeing a little bit here and there, and it was just overall a good experience for our team.
Good. One last question from me. I told you and Donnie that I was on the faculty staff team for Family Feud, and there was a student team. If there could be a women's basketball team for Family Feud that had to answer St. Mary's related questions, what 4 teammates would you select to be on your team if you were the head of the team?
Oh gosh, I feel like I would choose Brooklyn just because I feel like she would know a lot about the school.
All right.
And I feel like Ashley would.
Okay, so we've got Brooklyn, Ashley, Maggie, and one more.
I'll go with Caitlin Cruz.
Okay, Caitlin Cruz.
Yep.
All right, that's the women's basketball team.
Okay,
Family
remember
Feud.
that it's on tape now, so we know.
Right.
I got it.
Okay, so here's another one for you, and this will not affect your playing time.
Okay.
Coach Foley, this does not affect her playing time. Okay, Coach Gleason and Coach Foley in a game of horse.
Oh gosh.
Ooh, oh, I like this question.
Who wins, and what type of shot would win it?
It would be close, but I feel like Coach Foley would win, and I feel like he would just like pull up like at the volleyball line. I feel it would be one of those kind of shots.
All right.
But yeah, I don't know.
That's a tough question.
Right? I
Yeah,
honestly
yeah.
don't know. Yeah.
I always feel, Donnie, like in a game of horse, there should be something on the line, because at the end somebody should have to pony up.
I knew it was coming. Do not laugh. Do not laugh.
So, all right, Izzy Goettelman, thanks so
Thank
much
you.
for being here on the show. Good luck the rest of the
Thank
season.
you.
It's fun watching. So, all right, and that's going to do it for this episode of the Cardinals Nest. Thanks so much for watching. Tune in again next time.